Hello, guys, and we got some exciting news for you today. Bitcoin is about to be bought by a big fund. And yes, it's another BlackRock fund. BlackRock is not just one overarching thing, it's a lot of different funds. And all those different funds have a lot of money. So the more funds of BlackRock we can get, the better we are. And this time it's the Global Allocation Fund. That's right, global aspirations now. They really believe in Bitcoin, which means Bitcoin is going to do right. BlackRock's Global Allocation Fund aims to buy the company's own spot Bitcoin ETFs as well as BTC ETFs by other issuers. So they're not only buying BlackRock ETFs, they're going to buy all the other ETFs. May not buy grayscales because the fee is too high, but they're going to buy a ton of different ETFs. So there's a March 7th update filing with the US SEC. BlackRock wants to include physically backed Bitcoin exchange traded products, ETP. That means the spot stuff. Spot Bitcoin ETFs as a part of Malix. The updated filing notes that Malix may purchase BlackRock's own spot Bitcoin ETFs as well as ETFs by other issuers. And the quote is, the fund may acquire shares in ETPs that seek to reflect generally the performance of price of Bitcoin by directly holding Bitcoin. Bitcoin ETPs, including shares of Bitcoin ETPs sponsored by an affiliate of BlackRock. So once again, Bitcoin ETFs strike again, and BlackRock is buying more for their fund. So Malix has $17.8 billion under management. If they have 10% of Malix, it'll still be $1.78 billion. I know it might not sound like that much, but a little bit at a time, that's going to force Bitcoin to go up more and more. And it's not the only BlackRock fund that the company wants to hold Bitcoin ETFs. Obviously, they also want to buy for the Strategic Income Opportunities Fund, which is BSIIX. We've talked about that in the past. And of course, it's mostly probably going to be IBIT that they buy, but they'll probably buy some from Fidelity and other competitors as well to balance their portfolio out. And I highly doubt BlackRock is actually going to stop here. I think BlackRock is going to continue to buy more and more funds of Bitcoin until they maybe 2-3% of their portfolio is made out of Bitcoin ETFs or Bitcoin traded funds. Now that's their own reserve, not what their customers are buying. And considering the big reserves that BlackRock has, 2 or 3% could be tens of billions of dollars. So we got to keep that in mind. So right now, obviously, it's still mainly BlackRock customers buying, but soon it won't just be BlackRock customers buying. It will actually be BlackRock buying themselves. They filed for it. They're going to start buying it. And I can just see billions of dollars pouring in based on only that. You think 70K is a lot, 70K is nothing. It'll easily be over 100K by the end of this year, in my opinion, and possibly going above 200K next year, as not just BlackRock, but Fidelity and the others start buying the reserves with their own funds as well. The ETFs have basically just triggered this giant cascade of events happening. Not only does it give institutions a way to actually buy Bitcoin by not directly buying Bitcoin, but buying the ETFs, it also gives credibility to Bitcoin in the industry, which makes other sovereign countries want to invest in the funds as well. So everything is looking very, very good for Bitcoin. And if you're not in this crypto market, you probably want to come in right now. So Wyoming has granted DAOs legal status. So the new regulation enables decentralized autonomous orgs to establish contracts with third parties, open bank accounts, and pay taxes, along with providing liability protection to its members. So the biggest thing about this is the members of the DAO can have liability protection because DAOs are decentralized, so no one member can be held accountable. But it basically gives the entire organization legal status, which I think could be a little bit confusing. So Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon has signed into law a bill establishing a legal framework for formation and management of decentralized autonomous organizations or DAOs. The bill was sponsored by the legislature's Special Committee on Blockchain, Financial Technology, and Digital Innovation, and introduces a legal status for decentralized, unincorporated nonprofit associations based in the state. So it's basically a framework for what a DAO actually is. The document outlines the requirements for forming such an organization, covers the role of smart contracts, and offers provisions over legal responsibilities of association and its members. So the thing is, like, a DUNA is a separate legal entity from its members. So it's kind of like a corporation, where it's like the corporation is an entity itself and the members are different. So it's like limited liability. So basically they're saying a person is not liable for a breach of decentralized, unincorporated nonprofit association's contract merely because the person is a member, administrator, authorized to participate in the management of the affair. So basically, like, just because you're a part of the DAO, you might not be liable if the DAO breaches a contract. And I think that has to do with smart contracts. So because it has no centralized leadership, you can't blame it on one person. I think it could get really legally sticky from this point, but it's good to see DAOs get like some legal recognition, because I think it just establishes like better precedents, and also, like, you know, it gets kind of like more regulation kind of like in place to see like what to actually build from. I think they've been probably doing this for a while. Wyoming might be like one of the first states, but it will actually basically spread to more and more states. So under Wyoming law, both UNA and DUNA are able to engage in for-profit activities. This would include the operation of a decentralized exchange protocol, a decentralized social media protocol, you name it. So they're legally able to actually do all this stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of legal hurdles with this stuff in the future, but I'm glad they're finally doing it, because we do need to take a step forward in decentralized autonomous organizations. A lot of crypto projects are going to be run by this, so we need to have like the legal bearing. I just see that this is another step forward in the crypto market, and I can only really see good things from this. They need to hash out the rules a little bit more about what's liable, how much liability and such. I think like the way they have for corporations, but overall, this is a good step in the right direction. And the mighty Jerome Powell says that the U.S. is nowhere near pursuing a CBDC, meaning the U.S. is not making a CBDC. It probably just will stick with the U.S. dollar or end up using USDC or something like that. He says he doesn't want to do it because they're not going to spy on Americans. I actually don't think that's the real reason. They probably looked at China and was like, hey, you know what? Even with the Chinese government's, like, you know, basically hand-wringing, no one is actually using that shit in China. So if the Chinese government can't even get their citizens to use it, then we definitely can't get our citizens to use it. And trying to get our citizens to use it would just be a big waste of time. Because obviously, if the CBDC is not that popular in China, it's not going to be popular in the United States. Just like China has WeChat Pay, the US has credit cards and everything else, and no one is really hankering for a CBDC, because basically we already have things with the same functionality. And obviously there's many Republican senators and Republican governors that have actually caught on to the political wave, and they are like making a big deal about not allowing the CBDC in their state or going against the CBDC. So they probably just want to avoid that headache. So Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell tried to offer assurances in a Senate hearing that a CBDC wouldn't be built in the U.S. in a way that gave the government an ability to spy on people. Obviously, that's always going to be a problem with a CBDC, because the government has a way to like spy on transactions. I'm pretty sure they will. The Fed said the Fed isn't close. Powell said the Fed isn't close to any digital dollar recommendation, which probably gives some people a sigh of relief. Even if the Federal Reserve were close to recommending a central bank digital currency in the U.S., Chair Jerome Powell told lawmakers that the Fed has zero interest in the system, which would have view into user data. But, you know, if the data is there, they can probably parse it in some way or other. So it's better they just don't do the project, save themselves a headache in something that, like, not a lot of people are going to use. Because, like I said, Visa, MasterCard already covers that. They're probably happy that didn't happen because they get to keep their business without any real disruptions. He told lawmakers that if the Fed ever got closer to building a digital dollar, the banking system would be enlisted to manage people's accounts. Now, banks might actually like the digital dollar if they were able to control the digital dollar, but since it's actually like issued by the government, banks might be feeling that they're losing power too. So there's a lot of people against issuing the digital dollar. I personally think it wouldn't really change all that much, because realistically, like, you know, all our transactions are viewable anyways with like private companies and stuff. But, you know, like, I'm glad they didn't do it just to save themselves the headache, because if they did do it, I think there would be like a lot of like opposition, and we basically waste a lot of time basically like discussing and debating about something that's really not going to get used. And I think just the lack of interest from people overall, and the lack of interest from like major countries like China, just giving a clue to the US that people really don't want this, and it's gonna be a big waste of time if they actually implement it. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.